tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Waiting to be profiled today is Gabriella Di XX Miglia and writer Steven Bagatourian. Jewelry designer Gabriella Di XX Miglia was born and raised in Genova, Italy, where she attended the artist school. She started her career as a conservator and a preservationist of art. What kind of work did you do as a preservationist and as a conservator?
Well, first of all, I did a school after 4 years of Fine Art Academy in Genova.
Specialty.
And a specialty school. There was a branch from Rome open in Genova in order to distribute enough restorers in northern Italy that were trained in a proper way. And the school was only for 4 years, and after they closed up the school because they didn't want to give more restorers there. So we are the only one that are really professional and trained from the Istituto Nazionale from Rome for north of Italy.
Were you working for museums
and
at the time?
I did work for dealers and for some institutions, but a lot of private dealers, antique dealers, and I work in a very famous painting actually. But my colleague work for the Museum of Northern Italy still now, and I left. I came to the United States. So I say goodbye to them because I wouldn't be part of the group.
What happens if you said you worked on a famous painting is restored? What happens to the painting? Does it lose its quality, or what is the restoration do?
Well, first of all, there are different techniques I found out when I came in this country, because I've been working here for trustee for the county museum, and I've been close to the Getty conservatorist as well. The difference is that in Italy, you have to preserve the original painting as much as possible without reintegrate with painting. You have to reintegrate with neutral little points, let's put it like this, that from the distance it seems the picture is all there, but when you go close by, there is actually the missing part.
Is that right?
Yes, and the museum will not accept things that have been painted. So it's a very...
So it shows the restoration.
It shows from close by, but from a little distance, it seems everything is perfect.
Right.
So it's like the technique of puntillism they did in France, yes, and in the neutral, because it's very, very crucial for Italian that what is original and what is not original. He has to be noticed.
Does it change the value when you repair it? Is it better to leave it not repaired?
It does no, the value is better if it's repaired. It has to be repaired in a proper way. Now, this is what the museum wants, but the private people, they want to be painted, of course. So there are two different clients, let's say.
So you actually were painting in Italy for clients, but you were also a painter yourself.
Yes,
and were you painting? Yes. You trained as a painter. Were you painting when you were still doing your restoration?
Yes, it was a conflict. It was a conflict matter.
Because you did this lovely giclée print, which must have come from a painting?
From my original that are much bigger, and are pastel watercolored. Is a series of the flower in the month with the zoological sign, and there is a series of 12.
I see.
And I do it in different themes.
Do you sell them together?
I sell them individually and as a series.
I see. Well, so here you are painting,
yes.
and preserving paintings.
Yes.
Was there a conflict in your mind?
There was a conflict because when you paint, you create. When you restore, is technical. It's like to be a surgeon. You fix it without putting anything of yourself there. It's a very, very scientific, technical procedure. This is an artistic procedure. So I have to put my artistry on the side and think about my technique of painting. But he helped in my painting a lot because I learned how to grind colors, how to do all these things that the old master did.
Oh, so but it helped your painting?
Yes,
Because you were learning what they were doing. I see.
To prepare my canvases.
Did you show your paintings in Europe?
Oh yes, I did many shows in Europe.
I have one other picture I want to show because that, from a catalog, I think this is wonderful. This is very whimsical and it tells something, but this piece shows. Did you do this from life?
Okay, now I tell you the story as brief as I can of this. This is another series that is the Christopher Columbus series for the quintessential of the celebration of the discovery of America. There was, I was one of the official painters from the United States, and I made a series of painting of Columbus and his men from my eye, coming here from Genova. Colombo was from Genova, the Enterprise was from Spain, but the man was from Genova. I felt like being in the same shoes, so I thought I should have done that.
And then another painting that you did, which I think is great.
That is another series that is called Reflections, and is a reflection of a lady that lost her identity and she's searching for her identities. And those were acrylics.
Where did you get your inspirations for your work?
I get inspiration from moods. And then I love to do portraits, but my portraits are from the inside of the soul of the person, so they have to be accepted the way I see them with my eyes.
That's very difficult, isn't it? People want to see themselves in a different way than what you actually see them. Well, moving from the painting and the restoration and using color, I can see how you got into jewelry designing.
Well, I reinvent myself.
I call you a jewelry artisan. Because it's so artistic.
Yes, well, everything is in design. I also paint on fabric, and I design also fabric.
I want to tell us about this.
That is a coral, and there are beads in 18 karats gold, hand hammered, that resemble the sponge of the sea.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And where do you get this coral?
The coral, well, I go to trade shows. I have people from all over the world. They just, float around.
They're there. This piece next to me is
aquamarine and is in a string of hepatite.
And it's, is it
hepatite.
Is the aquamarine pierced through it? Is there
the aquamarine has a hole.
Has a hole,
yes.
And so then they all hang like that beautifully.
Exactly.
That's so great. And then I want to talk about this piece too.
This is a ruby and pearls, and again those are hammered handmade gold beads with inside the precious stones.
These are the hammered beads.
Yes.
So you buy the beads separately, and then you tell us how you would put something like this together.
Sometimes they make it for me. To put it well, what I do, I do the jewelry by myself, because I make them as well.
Oh,
because while I'm making it, I change the design. So for me, it's very difficult to give it to somebody, because when I give it to somebody after I change the design, I drive them crazy.
Well, how did you learn how to do that?
I learned because I started as a hobby for me, and then slowly it became. They say, why don't you make? I made more and more and more, and it became a business.
Where do you sell them?
I sell them privately. I don't have a shop.
Oh, you sell them privately?
Privately by appointment.
I see. I'm going to hold this one too, because the pearl, the cross, this cross has
This is a citrine and the sterling and the sterling silver, and the other one is a mother of pearl and antique freshwater pearl. Sometimes I buy antique beads when I find them. When I travel a lot, I stay 2 months here and then 1 month in Europe, and I go to Paris and I go to Italy, and sometimes I find antique pieces. I disassemble them and I remake them with my own design.
That's what I was wondering, because on this
This is
this
an
piece
estate
looks
piece.
like it has
Yes.
an old piece. Can you hold that
Yes.
up so the
This is
just
this,
hold it to this camera
yes.
over here.
These are turquoise Sleeping Beauty that now are considered the best turquoise in the market, and with the Sleeping Beauty pendants here. And this is a platinum brooch from 1927, approximately, from Russia, with a sapphire
So you put it all
cabochon.
together?
Yes, and this was very difficult because I didn't do this by myself, because I don't do soldering by myself, but it was difficult to work very close with a worker, not to
To damage
to
the
damage
old piece.
the old piece, because when you have to solder on platinum, everything can break. There are all diamonds here, and they can pop out.
And then
So
what
it's
about, you have a bracelet to go with it?
And there is a bracelet that goes with that.
Does that have an old piece on it, or
And no, was
you
done.
had something made to
I
match?
made for me, yes, to match, and then I made the earrings.
Uh-huh. Show us this other piece. Oh, everything is influenced by the old brooch,
Yes,
by the
yes,
1920s brooch.
yes.
Show us this other piece.
This other
is
piece has also the
gorgeous.
earrings that I should have taken out, but I didn't.
Hold it against your white.
This has sapphire, rubies, and diamonds, and the rondelle with the rubies, and emerald.
Are they, what kind of stones? What
Are
kind of cut?
real stones. I mean, are not semi-precious, are precious stones, and are beads. Are
Beads, they're beads, yeah.
Exactly.
Beautiful,
And 18 carats gold.
beautiful.
And I have the earrings that are round.
But the earrings that you're wearing are so today, aren't
This
they?
is one of my last pieces. This
The
necklace with the earrings. And these earrings are actually, I make attachment. So when people have the stud earrings and they want to dress them up, I make long attachment that match the necklaces.
I think that answers my question. I was going to ask you about custom work and how you look at a person and see what their personality is. Can you do
Yes,
that?
of course.
Yeah.
I would never suggest a very short person to have long earrings or something that overwhelms her personality.
But you would make something especially.
I will make something that fits her personality. Being a designer, I'm also a makeup artist, and I do many things. I am very concerned for the look of the people. The pieces should not overwhelm the personality or the physique of the beauty of the person. Otherwise, people look at the pieces, they don't look at you.
It doesn't fit.
Everything has to frame in a balance, and balance is the key word.
That's fabulous. Thank you for being with us
Thank
today.
you so much for having me.
Thank you, Gabriella Di XX Miglia.
Thank you.
Don't go away. We'll be right back with Steve Bagatourian. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. I'm here with writer Steven Bagatourian, and Steven was born in New York, then raised in Southern California. This boy dropped out of University High School in Irvine when he was 16 years old. What did you think you were going to do?
At the time, I was convinced I was going to be a comic book artist.
Because you were reading a lot of comic books,
Yes,
weren't you?
yes, I was a huge comic book fan as a kid growing up, and so my whole life, since I was like 4 or 5 years old, all I ever wanted to do was to write and draw comic books.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Were you talented? Were you drawing?
I thought I was damn good.
Were you?
I looking back, I really think I was.
But what, did your parents condone this comic book stuff?
They were very supportive.
Were they?
They were very supportive to a shocking extent. Yeah, they bought me lots of comic books, and they were really supportive of me just sitting in my room drawing all day.
So you didn't have to sneak comic books under your bed?
No, no. that would be a better story, but no, I did
But what
not.
about dropping out at 16?
That was a little more difficult. You know, they were a little concerned.
But what were you going to do?
I was convinced I was just going to go draw comic books.
I know, but where did you think you were going to go?
I just figured that somebody would hire me.
Oh, I see.
I thought I was really, really good, and I figured someone would hire me.
You didn't think you needed any more education then?
I really, at the time, I didn't think so. Like I always loved to read, and I just kind of figured I would pursue my education kind of like myself.
Oh,
Yeah. So
you thought you could be an autodidact?
that was the idea.
Was it?
That was the
Really?
idea, pretty much.
Yeah, but did you think you would be an actor? Were you thinking about acting?
No, never. Had no interest in acting.
So you had no interest in movies or films?
I liked movies. I'd always liked movies, but honestly, I was more passionate about comic books and music growing up.
But here we are. We have you becoming an international prize winner, grand prize winner for a screenplay
Yeah, that's true.
called Weasel.
That's correct. That's correct.
Well, how did that happen?
Basically, after dropping out of high school, I moved to Berkeley with one of my best friends, and I lived in Berkeley for a couple of years. And I just kind of worked at some used bookshops, and I wrote and I drew a lot. And I think around that time, I thought I'd try my hand at writing screenplays, just kind of as a hobby, more or less. And the second script I wrote was Weasel. And I entered Weasel just kind of as a lark in this international screenplay contest.
So you knew about it from being at the bookstores
Yeah.
and researching a little bit?
And actually, you know, thinking back, by that time, I'd moved back down from Berkeley, and I was in Southern California, and I decided I wanted to write, because I was writing screenplays, I took a class. I took a nighttime class somewhere, and I found out about a contest or two, and so I entered this contest, and kind of much to my chagrin, I ended up winning the grand prize in this contest called the Cinestory Screenplay Competition.
Well, I'm just saying this because people who don't know where to go or what to do can follow your example of just kind of like looking into things and being around at the right places.
I mean, I was really fortunate. When I did move back from Berkeley, I signed up for some evening classes at the extension department at UCI.
So that really helps then, because it opens doors.
It was a huge help, and I was actually really lucky because I found a really great teacher by the name of Tim Albaugh, and he was super, super supportive of me writing stories that were like not your typical stories.
Oh, so well, it sounds like it was a comic book background.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
I don't know if it's true.
I mean, I was writing stories. I think my comic book influence really has helped me as a screenwriter because I've not been drawing from like the same pool of influence.
I was just going to say everything's the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Old. Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't go to film school. I didn't grow up like watching that many films.
I see.
So like,
you had a different thing.
I had a different sort of vision. So Weasel was a really strange story, and it was not typically the type of story you write to break into Hollywood.
I see.
So,
but you did break into Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean, it was an odd story though. I mean, it was a story about a 12-year-old murderer living in a futuristic sort of an inner city.
Oh, that sounds very comic book to me.
Yeah, you know, but it was definitely not like your popcorn movie.
But how long ago was that?
That was when I was I wrote Weasel when I was 19, I think, and then I entered the competition when I was 20. And I won the grand prize when I was like 20, 21. And then in the aftermath of that, John Cusack bought the script.
How did he find it?
John Cusack bought Weasel because one of his partners was one of the judges in this competition that I won.
You're kidding.
No, so I got home from Chicago, which is where the competition had like their big festival, and gave me this award or whatever. Got back from Chicago, and John Cusack called me up and said, "Hey, we read your script, we love it, we want to buy it." And so I was like 20, 21, and all of a sudden...
So that happened?
Yeah, and I was a screenwriter all of a sudden.
And then did you have an agent?
The William Morris...
Then you had to get an agent.
The William Morris agency contacted me shortly after that. They said, "Hey, we want to represent you." And so
Is that right?
I was actually, I think at the time, I was one of the youngest, if not probably the youngest writer at William Morris.
So you didn't even have to go out and search for an agent. You
No.
didn't have to search for John Cusack to buy your...
No, I was really fortunate.
But the other thing I think that's so interesting is that reading, you were always reading, and you were always attached to the written word. Even though you were out of school,
Yeah.
You still, I think that's a big influence on people's lives, to be able to read all the time.
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I mean, one of the best things I ever did was just get a job at a used bookshop.
How great.
And I mean, I was surrounded by stories all day. So like all I did was read, and like books have always been really important to me.
Were there any people in show business in your family?
The only person was my sister's husband at the time. My sister's now ex-husband. He was actually a filmmaker from England, and he was actually a great guy. And he'd actually won an Academy Award for best short film during the time they were together.
Really?
And
so that was a little influence.
he was a
on
big
you?
influence. He was a big influence, and he was really supportive. And he was the first person who told me that he thought I was talented as a writer. Like, because my whole life up until I was like 18 or 19, all I ever did was draw pictures, and and I started kind of writing stories just so I could have a story to illustrate.
Oh, I see.
But I never actually considered myself a writer until my brother-in-law at the time said, you're actually a decent writer. You should try just writing sometime without the pictures.
But he didn't open any doors for you.
No. I mean, just
told you.
I mean, he opened the most important door, which is just kind of mentally.
Oh, that's really great.
Yeah, so that was very cool.
And then Second Gun, what is it? American Gun? American Gun.
That's a film that I co-wrote that's coming out in theaters in a few months.
And what is that about?
American Gun's a very serious movie. It's a really heavy story. It's basically a look at the way that firearms affect people's lives in America today, and it's a pretty dark sort of a story.
Is it a feature film?
It's a feature film. It stars Forrest Whitaker and Marcia Gay Harden and Donald Sutherland. And
well, this is your second movie, and you've got the huge cast. What about Weasel? Who was in that?
Weasel at this point has not yet been filmed.
Oh, it
but
hasn't.
No, I worked with Cusack for about a year on the script. Things didn't work out there. It's the script. The rights came back to me. It's since been optioned to several other producers, and
I see.
so it's making the rounds. People are trying to get it produced, but
is it anime or
no,
is it no? It's
no.
not.
But although that's not a bad question though, because the sort of visual influence that I was drawing from, it's got very much of kind of an anime sort of a manga feel.
That's how I felt when you were talking about it and how your background actually was.
Yeah, exactly.
So you were ahead of it, really. I mean, before Japan
Yeah.
started bringing it to America.
Yes, I was a visionary. Yes,
Taken from
yes.
America to Japan and then bringing it back,
Yes.
and here you were in the middle of it.
Yeah, and I mean, unfortunately, what happened with Weasel was it was at the time that Cusack was trying to get it made, the Columbine high school shootings happened, and all of a sudden it was like the worst possible time ever to make a movie about a 12-year-old killer.
Well,
So-
what about gun stuff? American Gun, same thing.
American Gun it deals in some similar territory, but it's a lot more of a kind of a realistic, naturalistic story. American Gun's set in a very real and identifiable America of today, and Weasel was more stylized.
Did you have any say-so in the casting and any part of the production?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, one of my best friends in the world directed the film American Gun.
Who's that?
His name's Eric Avellino, and Eric and I grew up together. We've been friends since third grade.
Really?
So we
Did
grew
he
up together.
direct other?
No, it's his first film.
It's his first.
Yeah. It's both of our first produced films.
Did you write it with him?
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see. So then who cast it?
We were really fortunate with American Gun. We once things got going, we got a major agency, CAA, behind us, and they kind of took the project under their wing, and they helped us get it out to a lot of people. And then IFC, the Independent Film Channel, stepped in to produce and distribute the film.
Did you have to learn a whole set of new lingo and dealing with Hollywood from
yeah.
Orange County?
Yeah, there's been some lingo. I mean, all of it's nonsense. I mean, like, none of it really means much. But, I mean, yeah, you hear some funny words.
Are you writing this down for your next film?
Yeah, like, honestly, I try and stay as far away from Hollywood as I can. Yeah, it's not like...
So you don't live up here? You still live in Orange County?
Yeah, I've spent some time living in LA, but honestly, it's really just not for me. Like, I'm not comfortable in Los Angeles.
So what's your next project?
The next project is a script I wrote last year that I'm very excited about. We just got a director attached recently, and things are going really well. It's called The Hearts of Men, and it's kind of a violent coming-of-age tale. It's an urban story, and basically it features 3 young boys growing up in Whittier, California. And It's a story about three young boys, a black kid, a white kid, and a Hispanic kid. And they're all around 16, 17 years old. And they come from very different sorts of worlds. And The Hearts of Men basically tells the tale of how these three very different young men collide. Their lives collide one weekend in a rather dramatic and striking fashion. And at the end of this weekend, none of them will ever be the same. And the thing that links all three of these stories is that all three of these very different young men are obsessive, humongous fans of the late rapper Tupac Shakur.
Oh, really?
And so that's kind of a running theme.
Were you involved in music? Did you listen to a lot of music?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
That was part of your background?
Yeah. Hip hop music's always been a really big influence for me, and lots of different types of music, but hip hop's always been particularly close to my heart. And so The Hearts of Men is somewhat of an homage to the impact that like Tupac and hip hop music has on a lot of people.
Well, what happens with something like that? The script gets out there,
right.
And you say you've got a director attached. Is
right.
that the first thing that you do?
It really depends. I mean, like things happen. Like as I've learned, like things happen, you know, in a whole variety of crazy different ways.
But they can still happen,
Hollywood,
right?
Yeah, I mean, there's no one set course, but
see.
like in this particular case, we've got a director first.
Where'd you get a director?
I had a producer, and at first I had this producer who I'd met who'd read the script and really loved it. And she happened to know this director, and she got the script to him. And so now that the team is kind of slowly assembling, the next step is we're going to be talking to actors.
So were you happy with the director?
I actually just met him for the first time yesterday.
Oh, you did?
I did, yeah. And actually, he's a really, really cool guy. He's a very sharp guy, and I was quite happy.
Well, we have to leave, but before we leave, what do you think about these reality shows?
You know, honestly, I don't even own a TV, so I don't think too much about those shows.
Because the script that you were just talking about really could be like a reality show in the life of those three boys you were talking about.
Yeah, you know, that'd be an interesting show.
Yeah. Okay, Steve.
Thank you, Joan.
Thanks for being with us. Thanks to Steve Bagatourian, and thanks to you for watching the Joan Quinn Profiles. Keep writing to 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, Los Angeles 90017. And we'll see you next time on the Joan Quinn Profiles.